Disaster destroys many things, including illusions. For example, people assume business owners are rich. Hardly. In fact, profit margins are so thin, one storm could blow them over permanently. Especially restaurants who are getting hit hard these days. By the time this is over, a night out will be heading to 7-Eleven to buy beans. We worry about waitresses and servers and, of course, every tavern's ICU specialist, the bartender. But to help them, you got to help the owners first. It's like in airline emergencies. The parent has to put on the oxygen mask before he or she helps the kids. The guy who owns the bar needs help first, so then he can pay his staff. If not, you end up with boarded up storefronts. A bustling street becomes Skid Row. Towns die this way. The solution? Glad you asked. I once balanced my checkbook. So President Trump, if you're listening, I know you are. First, government needs to make the loans directly to the owner. Cut out the hiring requirements, and if the owner can't pay it back, it's on him or her. They did this after 9/11, and it worked. The loans should also have a long payback period to reduce thoughts of suicide, because that's where debt can lead. 16% of all suicides are financially driven. The second part involves you, the viewer. You need to go out and spend. Get that oxygen pumping into the system. But first, you deserve an incentive. So how about for 1 year, we make meals and beverages tax deductible. Take those bar tabs and mark them all self-entertainment. So if your family goes out and spends $200, you get $60 back later. Let's put the fun in refund. Because if we don't, you could lose your favorite bar, which sucks, because after all this, you're going to need a drink. You know, Juan, I think that's the reason why I think this is so important is that when places that are open at night close, you lose the foot traffic, and then the street is just empty and then becomes a danger zone.
Yeah, it becomes a ghost town. I mean, have you been driving around? And it's shocking. It's like, whoa, where is the life? Where is the party?
Yeah.
I'm all with you. I just think, we have to give consumers the kind of confidence and the incentive to go out and spend because they drive our economy. And people aren't aware of it, but consumer spending is the prime engine of the American economy. Yeah. I will say that for big companies, I think a lot of the big businesses want to reopen. You have to understand that they also have liability concerns. If they bring employees back in and then there's a wave of infections or problems or even people dying, then they will be responsible. So they have to think about that as well. Mm-hmm. And we don't want, as Dr. Birx was suggesting in what we saw in the A block there, we don't want to risk that we would have a second wave comparable to the first wave because we have slowed down on the social distancing, hand washing, and other mitigation measures we've taken that have proven effective.
Right. You know, Jesse, you talk to President Trump almost every day on that secret bat phone. Next time you talk to him, can you plead with him to introduce a deduction so people can get incentives to go out and spend and also eliminate all the hoops that small business owners have to jump through? Let the owner sign that lease, and then they'll the loan, and they'll be responsible. Just cut out all the red tape.
I love how Greg Gutfeld has made food and alcohol the centerpiece of the economic recovery package.
It is for me.
Right off ribs and wine. I mean, that is Gutfeld right there in a nutshell. I'm kind of torn because Emma has learned how to cook during the pandemic. So going out to dinner is not as appealing as it used to be, but I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to go out as much as possible to save this country, just like I'm doing everything to save this country now by staying at home and watching television.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, though, there's this new test that they're doing. They're going to roll it out in a couple weeks. It's a post-exposure test. You can prick your finger in the comfort of your own home, and you see if you've been infected with the virus. If you have been infected, it's safer for you to go back to work, and your blood can then be administered to people who are suffering, and those antibodies can help them recover. And that test, I believe, is going to drive policy in terms of reopening the country.
Yeah. You know, Emily, I think people have a misguided assumption of the business owner. When they think you own a business, they think that you're rich, when more than likely you're sleeping on floors, not taking a paycheck. You know? These guys need help.
Absolutely. And actually, you and I talked about this before, but I got some comments just in my own family small business. Oh, that's a privileged situation. Who do you think cleans the toilets? It's my dad. Small business owners do everything from top down to the bottom. And I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer, but the problem with the payroll protection program, one of the major issues, is that it doesn't align with the reality of the situation facing almost every segment of the hospitality industry.
Right.
And Jesse, you said you kind of reduce it to food and alcohol, which obviously we love, but the reality is that is a $900 billion industry. That's over 2% of our GDP. So we absolutely should do everything possible to maintain it and also to stimulate it. And on Thursday, the Treasury revised it, right? They reduced the maturity portion of the unforgivable amount of the loans and also the limits on the forgivable portion of the costs. So that goes back to what we were talking about before, which is that these small business owners, these operators, have to spend 75% of their costs on payroll, but their doors are closed. They are absolutely being gutted. And many of them are appealing, by the way, directly to their senators, because there's no way that all of these SBA, the websites and the telephone lines, they're totally clogged. And so they feel like, who's going to hear me right now? I can't apply for anything. It doesn't apply to me. Meanwhile, other applicable business owners don't even, they don't have that same cost revenue, but they also apply. It's really sloppy at this point. And I will say that the tone in the hospitality industry right now is one of panic and devastation. It is not positive. And I don't want to be a fearmonger, but just to highlight that this is a very real situation that needs real solutions.
I hate you, Emily, because that was a better monologue than mine. I have to say, it was. You had way more. No, you explained it far better than I did. Dana, do you miss your bartenders and your waitresses and your servers like I do?
Yeah. Well, and even other people, like my dog walker, right? And it's great to have Jasper here and everything, but she has a business, and they absolutely need help. I'm going to add two other things I think that the administration and the Congress should consider. Here's one that's super unpopular, just to keep on the theme of the week, Greg. I would do a capital gains tax cut because if you want people to pump money into the economy and buy things and invest in things and help with things, well, then allow people who have earned some sort of return on their investment to be able to spend that investment and not be worried about it being taxed to death. The second thing I would say is I think that they should consider increasing the charitable tax deduction for the next couple of years. Because we know that there's a lot of entities that need help. I talked to a family today that they run a baby pantry out of their church, and they're desperate for help. And so providing people with means to be able to have the incentive to also give would go a long way. I mean, the government is already doing a lot, and I know that there would be some on the left that would say, how dare you do that? That would be just helping the rich. Well, actually, people with money can help actually get this back on track and spend money at restaurants and for the dog walker and buy your sister a nice outfit. I guess I just committed myself to that, Angie. I'll be looking online for you tonight.
You make a great point. Let's say people
Greg,
on the lower...
can I?
Well, wait, I just wanted to, Dana, the people on the lower rungs of the ladder are losing more of what they have than people on the higher end of the ladder who can sustain it. Therefore, it's a responsibility of the people on the higher rungs to spend a buttload of money so the people in the lower rungs get it. Sorry, Juan. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
No, I think that's a great point. But I want to spend some money, but I was thinking, boy, those shorts that Jesse had on in that PSA, they're so pink, so wonderful. I just don't know. Jesse, you think you can hook me up?
Juan, I still have them on right here, baby.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. Wait a minute,
I'll send some your way, buddy.